Hello, Rising Phoenix family. Trevor Masterolds here with another conversation from the Hearth. We wanted to talk to you guys about something a little bit more casual. Which is a show that we both really like. What's the name of the show, sir?
It's called Cobra Kai.
Yes.
It's on YouTube Red or YouTube
I think so.
Premium. I don't know if they've changed that, but anyway, the first month's free. You should grab it.
Totally a paid sponsorship.
No, it's just a great show.
Yeah.
It's probably like PG-13 maybe, so I might not recommend it for like our littlest of kids. But
I don't think there's anything. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not like a lot of terrible violence or
even really bad language.
Yeah, or bad language. Yeah, I know. Probably everyone can do it, but I definitely think like the teenagers would really like it for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the adults are going to get a lot out of it too.
We talked in a previous post when we were going through martial arts movies to watch during lockdown, and we mentioned The Karate Kid as a really excellent movie. Not just as a really excellent martial arts movie, but a really excellent movie for the story it tells. I made a reference to that one video talking about how Mr. Miyagi is arguably the best mentor character in cinematic history. He's such a great character. With a really interesting deep story. But, without getting on into that, before we get into why we like the show Cobra Kai so much, there's kind of a story that you have. Would you like to kind of get into that?
Are you talking about the Super Show?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We were at the Super Show. The first time I brought Trevor to the Super Show, and we were walking around. It's probably about 6 years ago. This is long before Cobra Kai came out. Mm-hmm. And at one of the booths, they were selling patches, and their main patch they were selling was the Cobra Kai patch. And I've been seeing
Cobra head. It looked pretty.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. The Cobra Kai logo is pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's a good color scheme.
Yeah.
Not biased.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. It's okay. But and I've seen a lot of things over the years, not just that particular moment, but like Cobra Kai uniforms and costumes and all this kind of stuff. And when I was looking at that patch, I was like, what is going on here? Why at the summit of summits for martial artists are they selling Cobra Kai patches and not Miyagi-Do patches?
Because they weren't. They were just selling Cobra Kai.
They were just selling Cobra Kai. And I was like, why is that? That is almost made me kind of sick in my stomach, because I felt like they were missing. And I know it's cool. It's fun,
it's the sexy one,
whatever. But it kind of made me sad. It really did. And I think the reason is over the years I've trained at American schools and Korean schools, and the feel is very different. Especially when I started getting into like sport karate, like American sport karate. I mean, it's like. It's like really performative, okay? Everything's super flashy. I mean, you remember that tournament we went to not that long ago?
Yeah, with the flames on the pants.
And the guy's got the flames coming up the side of his pants.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, have you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite? And what's it?
Rex Kwon Do.
Rex Kwon Do.
Yeah. Screaming eagle.
You know what I kicked with these bad boys, those American flag pants. That's kind of real, and it's kind of, it makes me scratch my head. It makes me scratch my head why people like that so much. And I think it's because the showmanship of it, they really like kind of showing off. And
well, I think just without getting to like our culture and Eastern culture, I think we are a bit more individualistic. We're a bit flashier. We're more into the individual kind of creative ideal. It's that cowboy feel of like I'm gonna be the one that stands up to everyone. I'm gonna be the one that shows off.
You know why I love Cobra Kai, the show, so much though, is it actually doesn't capture Cobra Kai in that light. The original Karate Kid, the Cobra Kai, is very similar to a lot of these flashy American. And I'm not saying all American martial arts instructors are like that. I don't think I'm quite like that, and there's definitely a lot out there, but there seems to be this sort of American style of martial arts that really connected to what was going on in Karate Kid with the original Cobra Kai. That kind of school is not unheard of. And the new Cobra Kai is very nuanced. It's like struggling to find this new identity that is much more thoughtful and respectful, and like trying to.
So what I was going to say is that you have that experience where we went to the martial arts super show, this big national convention of all martial arts, and they're glorifying Cobra Kai, and it's like why are we glorifying this one, not Miyagi-Do? Cobra Kai's the villain. They're arrogant. They don't care about people. They're not martial artists. They're not warriors. They're fighters. They beat people up. And so when Cobra Kai was announced, it was like, no! We feel like we're fighting the cultural war for the identity for the martial arts, and then it comes out, Cobra Kai is going to be released.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai is going to be the main star. And it's like, this is even more in that direction. But what is actually fantastic about it is that it really... Well, I don't want to step on your toes.
Well, I think it basically proves that deep down inside, Americans know that there's something hollow with that sort of projection of the martial arts, and that they themselves want something more. And I think Cobra Kai is like a perfect example of that.
We need to specify when we're talking about the show, when we're talking about
Cobra
the
Kai,
school in Karate Kid versus,
Well, I'm talking about the show here. I mean, I feel like the show connects with everybody. And it was very surprising, like you were saying, when it first aired. Cobra Kai. There's gonna be a new Karate Kid show coming out. It's gonna be called Cobra Kai. It's gonna take the perspective of Cobra Kai. I'm thinking, oh man, this is gonna be really moving in the wrong direction. But when I watched it, I was like, no, this is so thoughtful and a fresh take on what it means to be Cobra Kai. And I think it really shows that people all over America are waking up in some way to the values of traditional martial arts as it was taught in sort of more of an Asian lens. And that's certainly important to us at the school.
But one of the things I really love about the show is that it gives you the perspective of Johnny Lawrence, and it doesn't portray him as a hero. He's not a great guy. He's got a lot of flaws. He's like down on his luck, and the inversion that they do, where Daniel LaRusso is like very successful and has everything, and you see this kid who's like the epitome of the high school bully, who's the star in high school, but after high school he burns out. He's got nothing. He's just like he's got beer cans all around his apartment. He's a total failure, and it doesn't like glorify him, but it does show over the course. And I've only seen season 1, and I'm intentionally not seeing season 2 yet because we were watching through the show again in leadership. I don't want to get ahead of it.
It is very good, though. Yeah.
It's really good. But one of the things I love is that they show his perspective and how he's a flawed man, but they show some of the wisdom in a little bit of that strike first, strike hard. There's a lot of scenes where you end up rooting and you go, yeah, that is really great. Like when his student, I think it's Miguel, is like on his first date. And it's like, you just got to go for it. And you totally root for him. And what is really beautiful, in my opinion, about the show is you see this character, Johnny Lawrence, who had a really bad instructor. And throughout the course of season 1, through him teaching a student, the student really changes him, and he becomes a better person. And he starts to see some of the issues with the old Cobra Kai, and he wants to change. And at the same time as that is happening, which is something really beautiful, because you take this guy who's really down on his luck, super beaten up, and you're like, and he's making this upward transition. At the same time, his student is picking up some of the bad aspects, and you're like, yes, but no, but and it's really conflicting.
It's
but
like having children. That's the best part about having kids. Before I go on a tangent here, but it's like, you see what you're doing wrong. There's no better mirror to look into as your kids.
Yeah, but that transition is a really, really beautiful one, where you see the perspective that he's got. You clearly know the ways in which it's wrong, because he was the villain, and you see where he's ended up from the original Karate Kid. But through the course of this, you start to see some of the wisdom in those kind of brutal teachings, those brutal life lessons that he's instilling when he's like, got I don't know what those are, the pitching machine that's like throwing the baseballs in the back of his head.
That's one great thing about Cobra Kai is it does a lot of the Mr. Miyagi sort of like life lessons, like learning how to paint the fence and what's called. But it's like, no, we're gonna throw you in a cement mixer, and you gotta like run so you don't turn into a cement block. It's kind of like takes it up a notch in a kind of hilarious way. Or and there's some great characters. Mm-hmm. Stingray,
Hawk. What do you mean?
No, well,
who's Stingray?
Stingray is the guy the one adult that trains with all the kids. Is he in only season 2?
I think that's season 2.
Oh, no, sorry.
No spoilers.
He's the best. He is like, he's amazing.
So one thing that I really liked watching that I felt like, I feel like the show is really relatable as a martial artist watching it. As a side tangent, there's a show called Slings and Arrows. It's about a Canadian Shakespeare company. I think it's a really great depiction of what it's like to be an actor for people who aren't actors. And I feel like there's an element of Cobra Kai that's really relatable if you're like a martial artist, even if you're not a martial artist, seeing some of the kind of ridiculous issues that martial artists deal with. And the scene that sticks out in my mind is when he's setting up his dojang for the first time. And he has this inspector come in, and there's like wires hanging down from the ceiling, and there's all these things that are wrong. They're not to code. And Johnny Lawrence is just like, I just want to like start my dojang. And he's like, I'm just pushing a corner. And what it reminded me of was our water bubbler fiasco. And just like, okay, we have a water bubbler, if you want to know. So there's like a space that we had for a water bubbler, but it was just slightly too small for the double water bubbler for like a wheelchair to be able to access. And this was an issue because to enlarge it was going to move a door, and it was going to be this huge expense. And so we're like, well, why don't we just put the handicap accessible bubbler in the alcove? There'll be plenty of space. But they're like, no, you can't do just a single, you need to do the double. And so that I just felt like was really relatable, the bureaucracy. And it was like, look, I just want to teach martial arts. Like I don't
want to bore him to death, but I think you have to bring some resolution to that. It was like, my architect told me that I needed one thing. Turned out he was wrong, and he didn't change it, pay to change it or anything like that. So it's just like, that's what you got to bite the bullet on that. And then the city told me one thing, and then the state told me another thing, and I'm basically bought all these different water machines, and I'm taking them out and putting them back in, and I spent all this money. It's terrible. Yeah. No one knows what's going on, guys. They don't talk to each other. But anyway,
that moment I thought of you when he's just like, exasperated.
And, it's funny because when this came out, it was kind of like, we're in our early, maybe we were like only open for a year. Yeah, we had like 30 students, and we were going through a lot of that ourselves, and so it was really cool to see that at the same time. It gave me a lot of encouragement.
It's just very relatable.
Very relatable. So,
but kind of talking a little bit more about the perspective. I don't know if you have something else that you were going to say, but
no, I mean, it's just really like, it also kind of takes another take at Miyagi-Do. And it kind of starts painting them with not a perfect brush.
Yeah.
And makes them more relatable. And that's a kind of bitter pill to take at first. And I think it takes, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but getting into season 2 to kind of see where Miyagi-Do's strengths are and how that's really cool, and how these two figureheads who used to be rivals kind of are coming together and everything. But that's like the best thing I think about the whole show is it's shades of gray.
Yeah.
I feel like, these days there's a lot of incentive to make these very black and white films. And this is a show that makes you think a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're like Johnny Lawrence, you're like, oh man, he's so crude, but he's so funny too. Like just like kind of like seeing how crude someone could be, and then
he's a very abrasive character, but he's got these redeeming.
But he's growing, and you kind of watch him grow, and that's really inspiring at the same time.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that's the topic we wanted to talk about. Between us and the leadership team, we were watching that. We were really enjoying that.
We're probably gonna, we're having a psychics meeting coming up, and we're probably gonna discuss maybe doing a watch party for Cobra Kai for leadership and whatnot. But if you guys aren't in leadership, I encourage you to take a look at it. It's really great.
Yeah. So,
Well, until next time, keep training hard.
That should definitely be the intro. We should just have that surrounded by the MGM logo. And that's where the line.